Alright, so this week I thought I'd go back and do a straight up acoustic 12-bar blues. It works on an acoustic or electric guitar. And I'm going to show you how to play everything note for note so that you have this standalone composition. You don't need to get out jam tracks or any of that. It makes it a really easy way to sit and practice something. But the real value in this is not just memorizing the composition. It's all these little licks that we're going to talk about, like 6 to the 9 and these licks that you can play off of chord shapes, so that when you're improvising, sitting around, just jamming by yourself or jamming with other people, you can start to use this stuff. So always kind of keep that in the back of your mind, like how does this relate? And I'll try and do my best to explain all of that. I used to do a lot more lessons like this, a lot more just straight up blues, but through the years of doing this, I find myself sort of pulled into country and western swing and all kinds of other styles just because I have an interest in all of that. So I'm going to break down this entire blues composition note for note. I'll show you how to play everything, but I'm going to split it into two parts. So in this video, we're going to go through the first half. If you'd like to watch the second half and also have access to the tablature and the on-screen tab viewer, you can get those things by going to activemelody.com, go to the weekly lessons page, and do a search for EP393. I should also mention that I was looking at my YouTube analytics to give you all kinds of data on your videos, and I noticed that about 20% of the people that actually watch these videos are subscribed to my YouTube channel. So I just want to mention that if you haven't subscribed, click the subscribe button. It doesn't cost anything. You just subscribe, and that way you're notified. Also click that alert bell when you do that, and you'll be notified when I put out new videos, because I'm trying to do a couple a week now. So I've got the Friday videos, and then also I'm doing one on Tuesday or Wednesday, middle of the week, sort of a motivational kind of thing. Some of you know about that and some of you don't, so that's why I'm mentioning it. Okay, let's talk about this song. So we're going to be playing this in the key of A. It's 1-4-5, so that means the A is the 1 chord, the D is the 4, and E is the 5 chord. Alright, so the first part we're going to learn is this bass line that goes. This is a must-know whether you're a guitar player or a bass guitar player, because you're going to use this in lots of things. I'm going to relate it back to some chord shapes and give you some ways to think about it. But here's how you play it. Open 5th string. We're going to hit each of these notes twice. Then I'm going to use my ring finger to slide from the 2nd fret to the 4th fret on the 5th string. And then we're going to go 2nd fret 4th string, 4th fret 4th string, and then we're going to come up to the 5th fret 4th string. So that's the line. And now I didn't go much beyond that because I have to kind of do a call and response where I'm going to jump into some other things. But the way that you would play it if you were playing it straight up is you just walk it back down. Just like that. Now I want you to think about relating this to your A-chord shape. So if you look at the A-chord, the root note is up behind the nut there on the 5th string, that open 5th string. So if I were to play a C chord using that same A-chord shape, you can see this bar here is where the bar was there and so forth. So where my index finger is where the nut was. So if I wanted to play that same bass line over a C chord, you can see what's going on here. I've just shifted everything up. So I can play this in any key. Now what's really nice about it is when I want to go to the 4 chord, so we were just playing that over the 1 chord, when I want to go to the 4 chord, I just jump everything up a set of strings. Same frets are involved, we're just going to move everything up. So now I'm going to jump to the 4th string and play this over the D. And then back to the 1 chord, all in the same place. To the 5 chord, we're going to do it, we're going to go down a set of strings. So we're going to start on the 6th string. And then back to the 1, which would be the open A there. And that's what I love about it, is you're using the same frets. Now the only other thing I'll mention is that I was using some palm muting. So I'm taking this part of my hand here and I'm resting it on the strings back here, just to give more of a thud sound. And it actually sounds more like a bass guitar when you do that. You don't have to do that, but I thought that sort of added to it. Alright, so now that we've got that bass line, let's get into the chords. So I'm going to start off with this 6 to the 9 chord. So what I'm playing is I'm playing an A6 to an A9. Now I've talked about this quite a bit in previous lessons, going from the 6 to the 9. I'm going to show you how to make this shape here. So we're going to play ring finger, middle finger, and pinky on strings 2, 3, and 4. And if you look at the shape they're making, it's the same as the D7 shape. So think of your D7 in first position. If you were to make that shape here, in where your pinky is on the 7th fret 2nd string, and then your ring finger is on the 7th fret 4th string, your middle finger is on the 6th fret 3rd string. So that's the shape. And then you take your index finger and you put it down on the 5th fret 1st string. And that is an A6. When you play that with an A in the bass, you have an A6. Now when I move that down 2 frets this direction, it converts into an A9. And that's why this chord shape is so popular with Western swing. You hear it in blues, you hear it in country. It's because you can real easily play this real smooth sounding rhythm. I love that. And so that all represents the A chord. That's the 1 chord. And I think of Chuck Berry, Wee Wee Hours when I hear this. And there's some Billy Gibbons stuff from ZZ Top. I can't remember the song. And when we're counting this in, it comes in on the 4 of the previous measure. So it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And then we go right into that bass line. And so that's the 2 pieces together. You can think of this as a call and response. This is the call. And then this is the response. Now I only get to this note, so I'm not able to walk it back down because I can't, I'm not Chet Atkins on this and doing 2 things at once. So I just walk it up. I'm playing all of this with a pick. And then I go back to the chord and play that, and then I went. It's just another variation on it. Now all of this is your A chord, and if you learn nothing else in this entire lesson, this is going to be your big takeaway, is when you're looking at your A chord, or we're looking at this chord shape. Now I'm actually using the E chord shape out of Cage, but we're playing an A chord. I want you to not see just this. I want you to see this, 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 and this. And we're going to learn this here. But all of that represents the A, and when you're improvising, you've got all this cool stuff you can do. All right, so from the beginning of this, we have. Notice I did an upstroke on that 1 string just to add a little flavor to it. And then I went. And this is, I call this build a chord. You've heard me say this before, but we're going to bar the first 3 strings, or the first 4 strings on the 7th fret. Play strings 2 and 3, and then we're going to come down to the 5th fret, strings 2 and 3, and then I'm going to hammer on that 3rd interval. So that's using my middle finger on the 6th fret 3rd string. So we have, and that also represents this chord shape. So think about if we're playing a G. Anytime you're playing the G, you can work in this little lick. You can think of it as a lick that represents the chord. So now you've got. I just think that sounds so good together. And you can get a lot of mileage out of that. Don't just let that sort of, breeze past you. Really explore that. There's, if you start picking the notes out, you can get different effects and all of that. All right, so let's back it up from the beginning and play a slow version of this. 1, 2, 3. Now notice right after this lick, I go to that open 5th string, and then I go back into my bass line. And then I went to get to the 4 chord. So I did the same 6 to the 9, but now we're going to play the D 6 to the 9. So this is the A 6 to the 9, but now we're going to go. Now this is super easy to play, even easier than the other chord voicing, because we're just going to bar the first 3 strings. We're going to start on the 5th fret, slide up to the 7th fret, and then go back to the 5th fret. It's the same premise though. We're playing a D6 to a D9 now. Now the reason I'm doing this is just because I'm staying in position, and I wanted you to see 2 different ways you can voice this. So instead of just doing it like this, you've got this option. And you can relate this to your D chord shape. So a light bulb just went off for some of you. You're seeing the D chord shape, and look at where my 2 fingers are, 5th fret, 7th fret. You're seeing 7th fret, 5th fret, right? The 6 to the 9 lives off of that chord shape. So now anytime I'm playing this chord, I can go and play a bluesy version of it. I could have came up here and played it like this. You can hear it sounds the same. In fact, these 3 notes are the same as, right? So if I played it up here, I'd be playing off of the E chord shape just like we did when we played the A. So you could do it either way, but I just think it makes more sense to stay down here and take advantage of that shape. All right, so getting from the A to the D, or the 1 to the 4, I went. Okay, now while that rings out, we're gonna hit the open 4th string, go right into the bass line. And same technique like I did before, sliding into it, doing an upstroke on the 1 string, sliding back down, and then back to the A. You can start to see basically how simple this is. It's really not that complicated, but it sounds very sophisticated. It sounds much more sophisticated than your typical blues. It's got that kind of jazzy element. Then we're back to the bass for the A. And then I went. Now this is where I break out of this sort of call and response thing that we've been doing, just to throw in something a little different. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to play. Now all I'm doing is I'm playing the A minor pentatonic scale. Everything we're playing here is in the key of A, so I'm just thinking A minor pentatonic scale, pattern 1. And to play that, I put my ring finger on the 7th fret 3rd string, while I put my index finger on the 5th fret 2nd string. So it's 3, 2, 3. Those are the string numbers. 5th fret 3rd string. And then we're going to walk it down. 7th fret, 5th fret on the 4th string, down to the 7th fret 5th string. So you can see these notes are all minor pentatonic scale, pattern 1. Now when I get to this note, I notice what happens with my fingers. So I make sure I play that with my ring finger so that my other fingers can fall into place and play this E7 chord. So we're playing over the 5 chord now, and I'm playing an E7 chord right here. Now the way that I think about this chord is I think of my C chord shape. If I play a C in first position but I just slide it up, it looks just like that, and then I add my pinky there to the 7th fret 4th string. Play the middle 4 strings. It's the same as like a C7 in first position. But if we play it up here, it's an E7. So you have. Now after I hit that 7th fret 5th string, I'm going to hit the low E string, or that open 6th string. And then I can play. And what I'm doing is I'm playing 5, 4, 2, 3 out of that chord. I'm just keeping the chord there. Pretty simple. Then it goes to the D chord, right? And I could have just slid that down 2 frets. That would have worked. But instead I gave you this option. I like that. I got this from Robert Johnson, and actually another lick that I'm going to use in part 2 I got from Robert Johnson. But we're going to do an open 6th string, 1st fret, 2nd fret on the 6th string. And that's an F sharp. So remember, when you're playing this D, it does have an F sharp in it. You can throw in an F sharp in the bass. And sometimes, especially in blues, you'll hear that. You'll hear the D with the F sharp in the bass. So what I did was, after I played that, I put my index finger on the 1st fret 1st string and my ring finger on the 2nd fret 3rd string. And that would be the same as me playing like a D7 chord. So I went, right? Just walk it up, 4th string, 3rd, 2nd. Then I take my index finger off, play the open 2nd, 3rd, open 4th. That's how I played it. This is kind of a nice variation on a D. That way when you're playing a D in the future, you can remember if you're playing the 5 chord, whatever you're doing, you can do that little walk up to the F sharp. It's a nice technique, and you hear it in tons of blues. Okay, so after that I'm going to play this, and now that's an A7, but the way I'm playing it, this is actually a D chord shape. So think your D chord shape down in first position, but if you were to play it here where your middle finger is on the 5th fret 2nd string, index finger is on the 5th fret 4th string, and then you got your ring finger on the 6th fret 3rd string, and you only play those 3 strings, 4, 3, and 2. That would be like an A7 if you play it like that. That may be a new chord voicing for some of you, a new way to look at a triad. But But I got this from Robert Johnson. I think it was Rambling on My Mind. It's a great little shape for this because you have the 7 chord, and then you can walk it down, and you can throw in your pinky on the 5th fret 1st string to play the A diminished 7, and then you can come back to it. Isn't that a nice transition? And you heard, and that's what I ended up playing was this little. And so I got that lick from that Robert Johnson song. I love that. Just really nice and easy to play. It's one little shape there. Okay, so from the D, did the A diminished 7, and then I went and did the kind of the Robert Johnson shuffle thing. I think he got that from probably an old ragtime piano player. We're going to play it there, and we're going to go down a half step and then back. And that's going to be where I wrap up this part 1 video. There's a lot that we've covered here, but there's another whole half of this, and I'm going to save that for premium members. And if you're not a premium member, look into it. It's super affordable. And I put out lessons like this every Friday, and I've been doing it for 10 years. I have this huge back catalog of lessons that you would have access to. All right, let me back up, and I'll play with a slow walkthrough one more time. We'll play through this, and then I'll see you in part 2 for the rest of it. 1, 2, 3.